So, hello everyone. I hope you have been understanding the concepts which are being taught and which have been taught in the previous videos. And I hope that it's being clear. Everything is being clear to all of you. Then now, saying that, now we come to the last topic of Unit 3, which talks about group behavior. Now, this last topic is negotiation and conflict management. So, what is negotiation and conflict management? So, negotiations and conflicts are important phenomenon which occur among human beings, and conflicts occur especially in rural areas while sharing resources during festivals, etc. So, this unit will discuss, rather, this topic will discuss that in detail. Okay. Then we talk about what is negotiation. So the rules for negotiation, like negotiation, what happens, like when does negotiation occur? So negotiation occurs when interactions happen around sharing of resources. This is the interaction among people to reach an agreement. Now it is often seen in shops where you bargain for a better price. Workers negotiate with their bosses for bonus. Managers negotiate for reaching a consensus about a problem. Farmers negotiate for sharing of water and land. Villagers negotiate with the government for land acquisition. And then, so this says, that negotiation is a process by which people decide on sharing resources or fixing prices of anything. So bargaining is a component of negotiation. The outcome of negotiation will either be positive or negative. That is not something which, it is fixed. The outcome of negotiation may even, in most of the cases or in many cases, in some cases to disrupt the interpersonal relations among the negotiators. So what is the negotiation process? So the negotiation process consists of four phases. Firstly, planning, framing the rules of the negotiation, bargaining, and then closing the deal. So when we talk in detail about all these four phases, first is the planning. So what you do before starting a negotiation. So before starting the negotiation, what one should always do is assess the reasons for negotiation. Like, is it even necessary? Or why am I doing this? And what are the reasons behind this? So what is the purpose of what is the purpose of the negotiation? The objective of the negotiation should be clearly framed in our minds. Then the points for discussion to strengthen the objective should also be identified through different sources. For example, if there's a sales negotiation, right, between a farmer and a trader, and the farmer wants the right price for his crop, and a trader wants to pay minimum amount as possible for the crop. In such case, the farmer should be aware of the market value of his product. He should have the background information available. Like, he should know the channels of distribution. He should know the price paid by the consumer. He should know the other sources of the product which should be collected to make the sales and negotiation successful. The details of the other party should also be known with respect to this his negotiation objective. Then we come to a second stage, which is the framing rules of regulation. Then the rules for negotiation, the framing rules for negotiation. So the rules for negotiation should be identified. This is to make the negotiation smooth and without any disturbances. And the rules related to choosing the participants, venue, etc. help for effective negotiations. Then the third stage is bargaining. This is the most crucial stage in negotiation. The agreed parties come to the negotiation table to finalize their deals, and deciding the bargaining strategy is important for winning the deal. And the strategy can be integrative or distributive. Like distributive bargaining is a strategy which benefits one party at the cost of the other party, while integrative bargaining is where both the parties come to a middle ground and a consensus, but both of them are losing something, both of them are winning something. So what happens, like, I'll give you an example of a distributive bargaining where one party benefits at the cost of the other. Like, see, I fix a price for my produce and I start the negotiation. So the other, what you do is you reduce my price from what I have fixed, and now if I accept your price, then you win, and vice versa. If you accept my price, then you win, right? Like, I win, you lose. Sorry. Okay. So this is what distributive bargaining is. Okay. So this then what we have in another, I'll give you an example of integrative bargaining also. So what happens is like when negotiators have empathy and concern for each other, and integrative bargaining will be, then only integrative bargaining can be possible. Like I'll take the same example, like I fixed a price for my produce, and you're a trader, you come to buy it from it. I say this much price I'm willing to, for this much price I'm willing to give you my produce. You say that you're not going to take buy that from me from that price. You're going to buy from me from this price. Then both of us start talking about it. We start bargaining. We both move from what we had initially set the price, and we come to a common ground. That is called integrative bargaining. Okay. Then lastly is the stage is closing the deal. So the negotiation is closed after the deal is finalized, and the negotiators confirm the deal, and they leave the negotiating table. And integrative bargaining, as I just explained, will result in happy closing than a distributive bargaining. Then, which brings us to the next topic, which is conflicts. So, what is conflicts? Conflicts occur due to disagreements with others, and any disagreement may lead to conflicts. Like if A feels that B is doing something which is not good to A, then conflicts emerge between A and B. In general, conflict is always viewed as a negative issue which hinders the harmony of a group. But in some cases, conflict can create positive impacts to a group as well. This is only possible when the conflict is very minimum, and understanding the reasons for conflicts will help us to judge the conflict if it is positive or negative. Okay, so what happens is, what are the sources of conflict? Okay, the sources of conflict might be individual thinking, resources, sorry, yeah, the individual thinking, resources, behavior, etc., etc. So, conflicts may be task, relationship, functional or dysfunctional within an organization. And a conflict may be functional if it benefits both the parties by improving their performance, and it is dysfunctional when the conflict disturbs the performance. Okay, so then there's this thing called stages of organizational conflict as well. So that I'll explain later. Firstly, let's just focus on why and what are the sources of conflicts. So conflicts may be, as I told, it is dysfunctional, and when the conflict disturbs the performance. So task conflict is conflict that occurs due to work, the objective, and the components of work. And relationship conflict is one which is due to the issues in interpersonal relationship. Process conflict is another thing which occurs when there are issues among the group members in doing a task. So the mechanism of conflict, is based on the reasons for conflicts. And there may be limited resources. This may lead to conflicts between the parties fighting for the resource. Most of the social conflicts, occur due to the sharing and water and land acquisition. When public and private projects involve huge land, then land acquisition, then there will be conflict for want of reasonable remuneration. In some cases, if the project causes environmental hazards, then what happens, it will lead to major conflicts. Okay, like there are a lot of examples of environmental conflicts. So, and it might always, it can always go to different levels and directions, like offensive behavior, physical attacks, and etc., etc. So in the end, what we see is conflict is a process which occurs after certain events between groups or individuals, and after each event, the disagreement increases and becomes the conflict beyond the tolerable limit. Okay, so then we come to stages of organizational conflict. So Pondey has identified stages of organizational conflict as shown here in the figure. It's latent conflict, perceived conflict, felt conflict, manifest conflict, and conflict aftermath. So what are these? So latent conflict, it's the first stage where both the parties are not aware that a difference exists. Latent conflicts, may be competition for resources, competition for power, and difference of opinion on the goals to be achieved. When the requirement for resources exceeds the availability, then the competition for the resources aggravates. This happens in the case of sharing water among villages, cities, etc. So when one party wants to dominate or control for doing any activity which is claimed by the other party, then the conflicts arises. For example, in rural areas, conflict occurs between two parties for conduct of festival or common functions. In this case, one party wants to dominate the other party in conducting the events. And in some cases, the goals may vary between two parties or individuals who are related by a common purpose. And wealth maximization is mainly the goal of shareholders and employees. So the goal revolves around giving effective performance goal, and in this case, both employees and shareholders are related to the same firm, yet different aspiration and goals. Which brings us to the second stage, is perceived conflict. Here, conflicts may arise in the absence of lateral conflicts without any reasons. So this may occur when one feel that the other person is harming them. And this is due to the lack of openness between two parties. Misconceptions is a very big reason, or misunderstanding. It may even lead to perceived conflict. This can be removed by open communication channels between the two parties, enhancing interpersonal relationships between two parties, etc. Which brings us to felt conflict. So felt conflict is something which is felt by both the parties. The person feels that he has a conflict with others, and the demands of the organization with an employee must not interfere with the personal growth of the employee. If this inconsistency between individual and organizational requirements increases, then it causes stress to the employees. So the malicious behavior of one to other without any reasons may personalize the conflicts too, and the conflict at this stage is really difficult to resolve. Then the second last stage is the manifest conflict. The existence of conflict between two individuals or groups is made openly known in this stage to others by the aggressive behavior. For example, by the means of hostile words, physical attacks, aggressions, and it can be felt in an organization when one implicitly or explicitly stops the benefits to the other party or hinders the party's attempts to reach a goal. So attempts should always be made to stop the conflict moving to the manifest stage. An organization facing labor union issues like strikes an example of manifest conflict. And collective bargaining is applied in such situations to reduce the conflict. Then lastly, we have conflict aftermath. So after the application of conflict resolution strategies, if all the parties are satisfied, then it strengthens the interpersonal relations between the parties. In some cases, when one party is not interested to reduce the conflict, they may search for other issues, and they may also try to aggravate the conflict. So there are some conflict resolution strategies which people have come up with, like competing, avoiding, accommodating, compromising, collaborating. So what usually happens when we want to conflict. There are different strategies for conflict resolution. Competing, like both parties try to equally get the desired benefit, and in this case, one may win and the other may lose. Then we have this other strategy of avoiding. In this case, one of the parties doesn't fight and wants to resolve the issue naturally. Then we have accommodating. Here, if a party wants peace, they accept the demands of the other party, and one party allows the other to win for maintaining harmony among the groups. This is a win-lose situation. Then we have compromising. Here, both the parties lose something to remove the conflict, and this happens when both of them are equally capable and strong in understanding. And this mostly happens in business negotiations or in mergers and acquisitions. This is a loss-loss kind of situation. Then lastly, we have this collaborating thing. This is the best conflict management strategy ever, and it creates a win-win situation for both the parties. Here, both the parties sit, they find a solution which benefits both of them, and then they work together for getting mutual benefits. So to summarize, I'll say that negotiation is interaction among people to reach an agreement. Planning, framing rules of regulation, bargaining, and closing the deal are the phases of negotiation. Distributive bargaining is a strategy which benefits one party at the cost of the other party. Integrative bargaining is a strategy where both parties wins. Conflict is the disagreement between two parties or individuals. And latent conflicts, perceived conflict, felt conflict, manifest conflict, and conflict aftermath are stages of conflict. And conflict resolution strategies are competing, avoiding, accommodating, compromising, and collaborating. So this brings us to the end of Unit 3 of group behavior, as well as the end of the topic of negotiation and conflict management. From the next video, we will start with the Unit 4, which will talk about team dynamics. Here we will learn about work teams, what are the different types of teams, how we can create effective teams, and team building, development, and power and politics. So until then, happy learning and thank you.